Hi, I'm Tam,
And I'm Bobby.
and welcome to our adventures.
This morning at the Marshall House, they've got breakfast. A nice little atrium kind of place.
You can see from our room.
You can see it from our room. Our room is right over there with the light on. And it's a sit-down place, so you kind of check what you want, and they bring it for you, which is really cool. The food has arrived.
Thank you.
Pam got quiche Lorraine and some. I also got the quiche Lorraine with bacon and cheese grits. Breakfast time. Okay, so after breakfast at the hotel, we went in search of coffee. We found it at a place called
The Coffee Fox.
the Coffee Fox, which has like envelopes and stuff on. I don't know if that's the place. We both got large lattes. I got mine with vanilla syrup.
On this site in colonial times, what used to have it gathered the Sons of Liberty erected by the Georgia Society of Colonial Dames of America.
Okay.
That sounds very exciting.
We're starting our exploration of Savannah. First in the little parks we come across.
James Edward Oglethorpe was born in 1696 in Surrey, England. As a young man, he served with distinction as an aide-de-camp to Prince Eugene of Savoy in the Austro-Turkish War of 1716 to 1718.
Green. This is Johnson Square, but the obelisk in the center in the picture is Nathaniel Green. And we are walking into the middle of the road. Get a picture of the Gold Dome on the, is it the Capitol building?
Yep, City Hall.
City Hall, Savannah City Hall. Do not, John Weasley, 1736, first public building. Now it's the United States Customs House. The U.S. Custom House, built in 1848, stands on the one-time residence of James Oglethorpe, the founder of Savannah and the Georgia colony. Constructed entirely of granite, the building serves as a testament to the importance of the port of Savannah. United States Custom House.
Upon his return to England, he was elected a Member of Parliament, where he was recognised as a leading humanitarian in advocating better conditions for seamen in the Royal Navy and for debtors in London prisons.
Going down these stairs, supposedly to the River Street. I'm going to try and walk and film at the same time. This might be dangerous. The African American Monument, erected in 2002, depicts a family embracing emancipation as the shackles of slavery fall to their feet. Made it to the river. And the Georgia Queen. This is supposedly a thing in Savannah.
It's world famous praline. Let's go see.
Hello.
A praline sample.
What is a praline?
Praline is like a caramelly pecan.
A shipping container coming into port in Savannah. We just went and I birthday present for myself. So I got this Buddha necklace. I've got this pretty ring. And the necklace is on a silver chain we got. Now we're heading,
right?
Now we're heading to the hop on, hop off. Probably.
In 1730, Oglethorpe and his associated petitioned King George II to form the trustees for the establishment of the colony of Georgia in America. Oglethorpe's concept was a colony based on family farming with land ownership limited to 50 acres. The farm economy would be supported through indentured servants rather than by slaves. In excluding the use of slave labour, Oglethorpe sought to reduce the workforce and perpetuate the family farm concept rather than the West Indies and South Carolina model of large plantations owned by aristocrats.
Up ahead you'll see the Waving Girl statue. One of Savannah's most endearing stories is that of Florence Martis, the Waving Girl. She was the daughter of a sergeant stationed at Fort Pulaski on Cocksure Island. Florence and her brother, a lightkeeper, lived in a cottage on Elba Island near the entrance to the harbor. She loved to wave her handkerchief at passing ships coming to or from the Savannah docks. She welcomed or said goodbye to every passing ship for 44 years, and in 1943, 7 months after her death, a Liberty ship was christened as the SS Florence Martis in her honor. The first square we went by was Washington Square. Built in 1790, Washington Square was named in 1791 for the first president of the United States, who visited Savannah in that year. It was one of only 2 squares named to honor a then-living person. Washington Square was the site of the Trustees' Garden, and the square once was the site of massive New Year's Eve bonfires, which were discontinued in the 1950s. Next up is Warren Square. Warren Square was laid out in 1791 and named after General Joseph Warren, a Revolutionary War hero killed at the Battle of Bunker Hill, and who served as the president of the provincial government of Massachusetts. British gunpowder seized by Savannahans had been sent to aid the Americans at Bunker Hill. The sister city relationship between Savannah and Boston survived until the Civil War, and Bostonians sent shiploads of provisions to Savannah shortly after the city surrendered to General Sherman in 1864. Columbia Square was laid out in 1799 and named for Columbia, the poetic personification of the United States. It is located on Habersham, between State and York Streets. In the center of the square is a fountain that was formerly stood at Wormsloe, the estate of Noble Jones, one of Georgia's first settlers. It was moved to Columbia Square in 1970 to honor Augusta and Wimberley de Rene, descendants of Jones. It is sometimes called the Rustic Fountain, and it is decorated with vines, leaves, flowers, and other woodland motifs. Historically, red doors signified that the property's mortgage was paid off. This was a status symbol of the upper class in Savannah.
Oglethorpe led a group of just over 100 settlers aboard the ship Anne, arriving in South Carolina in late 1732. In February 1773, they sailed 15 miles up the Savannah River and landed at Yamacraw Bluff, where they were greeted by the Yamacraws and their chief, Tomachichi.
Oh, wow.
John and Mary Musgrove, local Indian traders, served as interpreters for Oglethorpe and his settlers. Tomachichi granted the new arrivals permission to settle on the high bluff above the river. With this successful settlement, Georgia, named in honour of King George II, was the 13th and final colony in America.
This is stop 14, just remain seated, you've got a key stop. This of course is the stop for the Colonial Park Cemetery. Be careful, those stops got 2 time limits. Nobody but the dead center town, right?
Dead joke.
Dad joke.
Dead joke. Dead center.
We changed trolleys at the Savannah Visitor Information Center and Savannah History Museum. This red brick building was formerly the Central of Georgia Railway Passenger Station. Built in the 1850s and 1860s, it was last used as a railway terminal in 1972. The Savannah History Museum represents over 250 years of Savannah's history with unique exhibits and artifacts. On display is a replica of a cotton gin, a restored 1890 locomotive, a model of the SS Savannah, as well as other exhibits devoted to Savannah's history from 1733 to present.
Slaughterhouses was the very first property that was built from the ground up by hand. That's where you're going to find most of the incoming and freshmen. That's where they're typically housed.
The first African Baptist church, organized in 1773, was believed to be the first black Baptist congregation in North America. The church was completed in 1859 and was part of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. In the mid-20th century, the church hosted weekly meetings as part of the Civil Rights Movement. Franklin Square was designed and laid out in 1790. It was named in 1791 for Benjamin Franklin, who served as an agent of the colony of Georgia from 1768 to 1778 and who had died in 1790. The square was destroyed in 1935 but was restored in the mid-1980s. The memorial sculpture includes a depiction of 12-year-old Henry Christophe, who became the commander of the Haitian Army and King of Haiti. St. James Square was named in honor of a green space in London, England, and marked one of the most fashionable neighborhoods in early Savannah. It was renamed in 1883 to honor the Telfair family and is the only square honoring a family rather than an individual. The square also contains tributes to Girl Scouts of America, founded by Savannian Juliet Lowe, and the Chambered Nautilus. Orleans Square was laid out in 1815, commemorating General Andrew Jackson's victory at the Battle of New Orleans in January of that year. In the center of the square, the German Memorial Foundation honors the early German immigrants to Savannah. Installed in 1989, it commemorates the 250th anniversary of Georgia and of Savannah. The Philbrick Eastman House, seen here, this Greek Revival mansion, completed in 1847, was built by the Irish-born architect Charles B. Clunkey. The house on Chippewa Square is best known for its iron fence, which was added later and recycled from another mansion. Part of this same ironwork fence surrounds the fantail in front of the Cottage Exchange building. The fence is adorned with medallions featuring the busts of famous statesmen and poets. Chippewa Square was laid out in 1815 and named in honor of American soldiers killed in the Battle of Chippewa during the War of 1812. In the center of the square is the James Oglethorpe Monument, created by sculptor Daniel French and architect Henry Bacon and unveiled in 1910. Oglethorpe faces south towards Georgia's one-time enemy in Spanish Florida, and his sword is drawn. The park bench scene, which opens the 1994 film Forrest Gump, in which he says life is like a box of chocolates, was filmed on the north side of Chippewa Square. Madison Square was laid out in 1837 and named for James Madison, 4th President of the United States. In the center of the square is the William Jasper Monument, an 1888 work by Alexander Doyle, memorializing Sergeant William Jasper, a soldier in the Siege of Savannah, who, though mortally wounded, heroically recovered his company's banner. Savannians sometimes refer to this as Jasper Square in honor of Jasper's statue. Madison Square features a vintage cannon from the Savannah Armory. These now mark the starting points of the first highways in Georgia, the Ogeechee Road leading to Darien and the Augusta Road. The square also includes a monument marking the center of the British resistance during the siege. Monterey Square was laid out in 1847 and commemorates the Battle of Monterey, in which American forces under General Zachary Taylor captured the city of Monterey during the Mexican-American War. In the center of the square is an 1853 monument honoring General Casimir Pulaski. Monterey Square is the site of the Mercer House. This house, which fills an entire block, and the square itself were featured prominently in John Burnett's 1994 true crime novel, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. The square has been used as a setting for several motion pictures, including the 1997 film version of Burnett's novel. Forsyth Park, formerly known as the Military Parade Ground, is a large city park that occupies 30 acres in historic district of Savannah. After 1851, as the city expanded south of Gaston Street, further extensions of Oglethorpe's grid of wards and squares were abandoned. Forsyth Park, located just south of Monterey Ward, was intended to be a single large park that would serve the growing southern portion of the city, just as the squares had served their individual wards. The original northern portion of the park, surrounding the well-known fountain, occupied an area the size of an entire ward from the old city, and the park more than doubled in size during later years. Other, smaller neighborhood parks have been established in the southern portions of the city. It contains walking paths, a children's play area, a fragrant garden for the blind, a large fountain, tennis courts, basketball courts, areas for soccer and frisbee, and home field for the Savannah Shamrocks Rugby Club. From time to time, there are also concerts held at Forsyth to the benefit of the public.
In addition to the ban on slavery, liquor, and lawyers, Catholicism was also banned in the colony owing to a fear of incursion by the Spanish in Florida. Other than Catholics, everyone was welcomed. Jews from London arrived in the first summer of the settlement. In the spring of 1734, Salzburgers, evangelical Lutherans from Salzburg, Austria, arrived and created Ebenezer, a nearby town. These settlers were quickly followed by Scottish Highlanders, German Moravians, Dutch, Welsh, and Irish settlers. By 1750, more than 4,000 settlers had arrived, almost half of them funded by Oglethorpe and his associates. By the 1740, Georgia's settlers felt constrained by Oglethorpe's plan and petitioned for a less restrictive and more profitable model like that of South Carolina. Finally, Oglethorpe left the colony, and in 1750 the ban on slavery was lifted. Georgia became a royal colony in 1754.
In 1868, a new mission was organized that would become Wesley Monumental United Methodist Church. Groundbreaking for this Gothic revival structure was started in 1875, but the 1,000-person sanctuary would not be completed until 1890. The beautiful church on Calhoun Square features European stained glass windows that are dedicated to people in the history of Methodism. The Wesley window, situated facing the pulpit from the rear balcony, features life-size busts of John and Charles Wesley. At the top of the window is a famous quote from John Wesley, "The world is my parish." Calhoun Square was laid out in 1851 and is named for South Carolina statesman John C. Calhoun, who served as Secretary of War, Secretary of State, and Vice President under John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. The square is believed to have been built over a slave burial ground with over 1,000 bodies buried in it. It is the only square with all of its original buildings intact. Lafayette Square. This square contains a fountain commemorating the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Georgia colony, donated by the Colonial Dames of Georgia in 1984, as well as cobblestone sidewalks. Adjacent to the square is the Roman Catholic Cathedral Basilica of St. John the Baptist. Given this proximity, Lafayette Square features prominently in Savannah's massive St. Patrick's Day celebrations. Water in the fountain is dyed green for the occasion.
If you've been out walking around a little bit today, you may have noticed here in Savannah, we got a lot of squares. Actually, I have 22 of them. And the city plan we have in the historic district is the original plan that James Oglethorpe, our founder, brought back here in 1733. Guys, this plan is 290 years old and still functions very well in the urban environment. So what a great testament to great group.
So I wasn't sure what we were going to do for dinner. We were thinking originally pie during the day, but this got we're at a burger place actually, B&D Burger Place. They got a good recommendation from our tour guide.
Yeah.
They also recommended the Mexican place. We went and looked at the menus for both and kind of decided on burgers. So we're here for burgers.
Burgers for Bobby's birthday.
Burgers for Bobby's birthday. Say that 3 times fast. Burgers for Bobby's birthday. And I've got the jalapeno one, and Tam kind of had a make your own veggie burger with egg and a few other things.
The cheese.
And we both got
mushrooms and onion.
And we both got onions. By the way, did I show you this necklace I got for my birthday?
That egg cooked all the way through as well?
Yes, please.
And also this ring. Those are presents I got myself. They can help me pick up. So, it's been a good day.
It's really.
So our burgers have arrived. Tam's veggie burger with egg, and my Chippewa, which is a jalapeno and pepper jack cheese. No pickles.
The only problem I have is
rings.
not cooked onion, and I will not eat that.
I don't mind it in small amounts.
No, it's too much for me.
So, bon appetit.
I've got sauteed onions on there already, so I don't need the...
So a bunch of alligators on the wall here at this burger place. You could get fried alligator as well. There's drinks they have.
I had that a lot in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I like New Orleans alligator.
So this was pretty good. The hamburgers were really good, and the onion rings were crispy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people here, but it was really good.
There's nobody here.
But it was highly recommended, and it was very tasty. So.
And very quick.
Very quick.
Very efficient service.
Yep.